1948. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Article 1. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. Article 25. Everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of themselves and of their family.
May 2021. Report of the Special Rapporteur on Adequate Housing. New Zealand has ratified the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. New Zealand has the obligation to progressively realise the right to adequate housing, legal security of tenure, B. Availability of services, C. Affordability, D. Habitability, E. Accessibility, F. Location, and G. Cultural adequacy. These rights essentially protect the right to life, which entails the right to live in dignity.
I might want to go get that cocktail. Does my bum look big in this house?
Yeah.
I can talk about anything you like.
Are you looking for one-word answers?
That almost qualifies as a Patsy question.
Remember, the government has a thing called a reserve bank, so it can just write money to fix this problem. What we have is a problem of political will.
I'm a wellbeing economist. I know it's true because I was interviewed once on television and Hilary Barry introduced me that way.
Sweeping global tax reforms that would actually enable or actually make multinationals pay their share of tax, and that's huge.
I am embarrassed to say very little, and I'm about to reveal by ignorance, I fear.
I would be guessing this entirely, I have to admit.
How have you been enjoying government's enablement of participatory policy making?
Have they been doing that?
Maybe it's the wrong thing to make a game show about.
That's like a great discussion, but we're not doing your quiz show, are we?
It means cozy?
Apparently it means you're cozy because there's lots of stuff you don't talk about. So you don't tackle the hard stuff. And so it's like the hard stuff we put into storage units.
Tanya, how many of the 7 elements of the right to housing can you name?
Oh.
I've been waiting the whole time to drop in some maths to this.
And it's actually about mindsets. It's not like there is any physical restraint, meaning we can't do it. We're not trying to breathe in space.
Yeah, we need a laugh track.
Should we do that right now? Everybody laugh. Fiona, I don't know if you were participating in a lively enough fashion.
Oh, sorry.
So family wellbeing is, to me, the most, There are two, so I don't...
That's so mean.
If you're a successful politician, you know people care about well-being, and the budget process is fundamentally about the government buying stuff that relates to well-being. Health, active labour market programs, education, the environment.
One thing the COVID lockdown taught us is that budgets are made up stories.
I gave you 64 because I thought you actually excelled and answered some things and provoked some conversation that I wasn't anticipating from the questions. I gave you more points. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed on behalf of us that you didn't get decent catering, and so I've given you more points as part of trying to overcome my national shame. I'm just still obsessed with 3,500 millions. That's a good.
It's a lot.
Billions. Billions don't even make any sense. You spend the whole time going, a billion. How much is a billion? Is it 1,000,000 million? Is it 1,000 million? Is it, and by the time you tried to figure it out, you've actually missed the point of what the conversation was about. And you've moved into something else.
The funny thing about housing is, from our perspective, and obviously I do look at it from a financial lens, but there's never been more money. There is money everywhere. There's money raining out of the sky.
Can philanthropic capitalism of that nature help us down here, or is that a good notion or a bad notion?
Is that a question for me?
Yes, it is, Leilani.
That was a pretty tricky one, and you nailed it.
We don't want to play anymore in this rampant commercial, financial, extractive, bottom line profit market. It's not winning. No one wins from that.
Do we really think our rights are somehow allowed us by governments, or are they truly universal?
Many of the international human rights promises made by New Zealand governments are not only ethically compelling, they are also binding in international law. Appendix 2. The right to a decent home is one of the human rights that New Zealand has agreed, under binding international law, to implement.
So, I don't know, I think we really just need to get past general comment number 3 and the fact that they say we don't care about how you do it.
I think human rights are being reimagined quite usefully, actually.
And whether we can use human rights as a tool to kind of get to push back on privatisation.
I don't remember too many catered meals from the New Zealand government, and I don't remember coffees and teas in the middle of meetings either.
Because I'm thinking,
embarrassing.
I'm thinking of branching out into the right to catering.
Oh,
good catering. The right to adequate catering.
That's it.
You want those gestation peanut slab. What sort of wine goes with a peanut slab? What goes with an almond slab?
The market isn't distinct from the state. A market is something the state does, right? Markets don't exist without states. Markets require property rights. They require to function effectively. They require enforcement of weights and measures, a whole lot of other stuff. When we talk about the housing market, there are two markets. There's a market for housing services, which is somewhere to live, and a market for housing as an asset. And the two interact with each other, but they have different drivers.
I don't necessarily think capitalism is the biggest problem. It's unbridled capitalism that's the problem. And I do feel strongly that we need to see if capitalism can be responsive to human rights. I prefer not to call them philanthropic models, rather just call them reasonable models or human rights compliant models.
I've put your score on the back of an envelope because we got to score this, and I've given you 8.3 out of 8.4.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm very happy with that. I'm very happy with that, yeah.
Just a 0.1, just a little bit of jargon would have been nice.
This is not about the same dead-eyed capitalism with a brown face. This is about creating a different way of doing business.
Why do New Zealanders invest in housing? It's because they're frightened that they can't live off super. So why don't we increase universal super? Why don't we just ramp up universal super so we can say, put that stupid idea to bed?
This is the point at parties where people start backing away.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Everything that they asked.
The reality of population growth is that the way we think about buildings and space potentially does need to change.
I never talk about housing. I really would prefer never to talk about housing. I don't talk about housing.
Well, it's lucky that your kids have got Australian citizenship and not New Zealand citizenship, because it's literally all we talk about.
I think that's really going to be the answer that gets Netflix across the line, by the way.
What is a housing system? I can do that. What is a housing system?
And mate,
right.
I don't mean how to do your job, Leilani, but you could explain the difference between a housing system and a market, in your opinion.
Oh my God, really?
This is easy. You know how to do that.
It's cocktail hour on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And if I was at a cocktail party with you right now, Leilani, that is probably the question I would have asked.